Of the City of Harper Woods Board of Education regular meeting. Today is May 17th and the time is 7:13. We are called to order. Stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3.0 is roll call. We have 5 members here. We are missing Ms. Menino and Ms. Williams. 4.0 is acceptance of meeting agenda.
Motion.
Support.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0. 5.0 is approval of consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none.
Motion. Support.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Consent agenda passes 5-0. And 6.0 is correspondence.
All correspondence has been forwarded to the board.
Okay. 7.0 district presentations and recognition.
Madam President?
Go.
Thank you. As a member of the professional staff of Harper Woods Schools and in my role as superintendent and in partnership with the Board of Education and the entire Harper Woods School District and the Harper Woods community, it's one of those mixed kind of things. Certainly it's our pleasure to celebrate Kathy Foster and Karen Stiver Panizo this evening, but at the same time, there's that UGG component to it in terms of the professional loss and the compassion and the commitment. But certainly we respect the decision that these two dedicated professionals have made. And as a former math teacher myself, I've done a couple of calculations. And so when you think about a 30-year teaching career from the elementary perspective, about 30 students in a classroom in a day-long concentrated experience over that 30-year period of time, you think about those other students that you've touched and formed relationships with through student organizations, clubs, whatever it might have been, and you're talking about a legacy that adds up to over 1,000 students. And certainly I think that is something that is to be recognized and celebrated this evening. For you, Karen, when you think about your dedication to our special education population and about 15 students through 5 hours a day, approximately 75 students a day or a year, if you will, over those 30 years, it adds up to nearly 2,500 students. Not quite in the same way, because the day's chunked a little bit differently. And, again, you think about your involvement with the plays and sponsoring classes and all of those other kinds of things, I'm sure that the number approaches 3,000. And then we talk about, in education, the concept of contact hours. Hours that you are working with and impacting students over a 30-year career. And so here's the way that math goes. 30 students times 30 years times 1,098 hours of instruction that are required in our state. That adds up to 988,200 hours. I'll round it to the nearest round number, and that's 1 million hours of contact time interacting with and serving kids. So I think it's fair that you call that a career well done and decide to move on to the next stages in your life. And so to learn a little bit more about Kathy and her career in particular, Principal Gottsleben, please.
All right, I'm going to try. here. Okay, I'm going to have to read it because otherwise I'm going to get shaky here. Okay, so I'm asking where the time has gone. 30 years of giving and growing and learning and laughing and singing and sweating. Yes.
Yes, sweating. That is for sure.
So many memories make up a teacher's career. However, the word career for teachers just doesn't describe the span of a teacher's classroom life. When reflecting on the life of a teacher, the real reflection is seen in the lives of the children that she's impacted each year, with 180 days of patience, love, tolerance, understanding, nurturing, and knowledge. In Mrs. Foster's case, that's about 5,400 hours, or 5,400 days, and about over 800 kids.
Hey.
Every teacher has a specialty, a gift that the students in her charge receive. In this case, it would have to be Mrs. Foster's ability to connect with her boys. Her unbending support for them will be so missed. Some of our most reluctant learners were our second grade boys, but Mrs. Foster's ability to create trusted, lasting relationships was remarkable. Her gift in reaching and motivating and transforming them into successful community of learners was witnessed over and over. These boys were willing to take a risk and forge on with her consistent belief that they were special, strong, and smart, even when sometimes I had a hard time believing it. Another high-impact talent that sets Mrs. Foster apart was her ability to go with the flow. Having taught second grade with her, I'm really good with that. Her classrooms were always a place where students were expected to work together cooperatively and produce collaboratively. She was before her time in that best practice. This interactive method of teaching young students requires tolerance and motivation and problem-solving skills. The process never broke down with Mrs. Foster's megawatt smile and consistent belief in their abilities.
Thank you.
You will be missed. And I end with a poem.
Oh, Lord.
And this poem just fits. It's called Kids Who Are Different. Here's to the kids that are different, the kids who don't always get A's, the kids who have ears twice the size of their peers and noses that go on for days. Here's to the kids that are different, the kids who don't fit with guts, the kids who don't fit with the guts and the grit, who dance to a different drum. Here's to the kids that are different, the kids with the mischievous streak, for when they are grown, as history's shown, it's their difference that makes them unique.
Amen.
I love you, girl.
Thank you. All right, I wasn't sure if I was going to read this or not. I'm not sure if I can get through it, but it came to me in the middle of the night, and sometimes that's when I have my best ideas. So I normally am a person that kind of tries to stay under the radar a little bit, try to do my job, without the attention, which I'm dying right now, but thank you all for it. But I did want to take the opportunity to kind of talk about my years at Beacon. And when I talk about it, I think about one word, and that's been family. I mean, just like family, we've shared laughter and tears, pride, joy, sorrow, success. Like mothers and a few fathers along the way that has been our staff, that we nurture our children, guiding them to the best that they can be. Being in such a small district, and because I live local, I often run into former students. And I usually ask 3 questions when I see them. I always say, first question I ask is, how old are you? And that's why I know that it's time to retire when they're like 3 years old. I'm like, okay, I've been here long enough. The second question I ask is what you're doing now. And it's usually pretty impressive. Usually I've run into, just from off the top of my head, I've run into doctors, college students, librarians, business owners, things like that. Those are all products of Harper Woods, past, present, future. The third question I ask is, what do you remember about second grade, or basically Beacon in general? And it's always about the teachers. It's always about the time that they took to care for them, and the projects that we did, the books that we read, the fun that they had. It's what makes Beacon special as far as I'm concerned. I know that in this state of the pressure that the administrators have to have success on tests and collect data, I get that. But I wish one thing for the future of Harper Woods, and that you don't lose touch with what matters most. And in my opinion, that's the student and keeping, having fun. That's why I've been so proud to be part of this district, is because of the nurturing and special projects that we've done at Beacon and in Harper Woods in general. And there's just some examples of things that I think make just examples of how to keep it alive. And when Todd and Jim came and read to the kids, that makes a difference. It's not about necessarily, it makes a difference. Dave, when you brought your bass to school, that meant, I'm sure those kids will remember that forever. The music programs, the Black History programs, the technology, all that stuff is what matters as far as I'm concerned in the district. It helps build up their self-esteem and that endless touch that every teacher at Beacon gives, and I'm sure the whole district. I just know Beacon, Kelly, you come to Beacon, and the kids don't go to Beacon anymore, and you're still helping with the carnival. Beacon teachers, there's no parent organization. They are taking their time to have this carnival so that the kids can benefit from it. That is what makes Beacon special as far as I'm concerned. So, I just wanted to just say that part. I know I've said that to Jan a couple times, and that's kind of what I really feel. I hope that, that never lose sight of my opinion, what's important. And I will miss my Harper Woods family, and I'm really looking forward to what lies ahead, which I have no clue what that is right now, but I'm going to figure that out. And I want to thank all of you for your love and friendship through these years, and I really appreciate everything. Thank you.
I just wanted to take a minute to thank Mrs. Foster. My oldest son, Kellen, didn't go to Harper Woods for first grade. In his entire first grade, he kind of fell behind, and I asked for a lot of help at his other school, and he didn't get it. And as soon as Kellen got in second grade, Ms. Foster immediately recognized that there was a problem, but we really didn't know what it was. And by the end of the year, got him into speech therapy, got him on his IEP, and he is now in the 8th grade, and he's in all honors classes and gets all A's and B's. And I really, really don't think that would have ever happened without you. So I really, really appreciate you.
Congratulations, Kathy.
Thank you.
And to tell us more about the career of Karen Stiver Panizo, Ms. Lori Ribicki.
Come on, Karen. Did you prepare your speech? No. I didn't know how this works. Well, that makes two of us. What she said. Well, if anybody knows Karen, mine is kind of short and sweet because we never know when Karen's going to arrive. So we have to make sure that we're not keeping everybody waiting. But it is an honor for me to be able to stand here in front of you and congratulate you on your retirement, as well as for 29 years of service that you provided our district and students. You've witnessed a lot of pendulum swinging in the education world, and especially in the special ed realm, and you've always remained flexible, but you've always remained consistent in your goal as a teacher to work to provide the best education and resources for your students and for our students. I don't know if Karen remembers this, and many of you don't know, but Karen was actually my mentor teacher. What? I came to Harper Woods a while back, and I was still finishing up my certification. So Karen was kind enough to mentor me as I was going through. She showed me that there is a lot of challenges when it comes to completing paperwork and changes in the laws as we go. But she also showed me the benefits of developing the relationships that we have with our students and working to reach their goals and help them reach their goals. And she had to see my son Eric through.
Anyways, your first priority was always, and still is to this day, to be an advocate for your students and make sure that they receive and develop all the resources they need for success in school and beyond. And yes, you did that for your son as well. We worked as a team. But I also want it recorded on tape, and Phyllis, in the minutes, that Karen has volunteered her time
on Mondays. So she will be back to,
You said volunteered, I heard that right? Beautiful, love it.
I intentionally put her with,
She's gone.
so I am going to miss Karen, but I do have a feeling that we will be seeing her around. And I'm happy.
Thank you.
I'm happy that you're starting this next chapter of your life. And
Thank you.
enjoy.
Thank you.
Enjoy every bit.
Thank you. Well, I didn't know this was going to happen. I really didn't know how this worked. So I didn't prepare a speech, but definitely, I could say a few things. Yes, everything Lori said was true. I am morning impaired. I have a hard time, but, and I also have a little difficulty with paperwork. One time when Chris Bell was here, the auditor came in, and I just decided, she really needs to know the truth. And I said, you could be a really good teacher and, not be so good on your paperwork, but you could be just a terrible teacher and have perfect paperwork. I just think this is wrong. And she, that you're judging us on our paperwork. And Chris just looked at her and said, she forgot to take her medication this morning. So, again, I have to echo community and family, because that's what it's like. I remember when Charlie first drove me here, and I said, we're going where? And as we drove, I'm like, this place is the other side of the world, But sure enough, for 20 years, we drove to the other side of the world. And it was always worth it. It was worth it. And we stayed here, and I've stayed here all this time through driving and, kids, and running home some nights and picking my kids up and coming back, because it was such a wonderful place to be. Family is definitely what it was all about. Not only the families in the community, but the staff. We've got great teachers. We have some of the best teachers around. I know this. Their dedication is phenomenal. People stay till all hours. When you go to a game or something, I don't remember seeing my teachers at activities and games and extracurricular things. You see our teachers at everything. They're just always here, and they always care about the kids. And I guess in teaching, the two things I learned was fun and fairness and love. And if you put those three things in there, the kids just respond. They do. I've always loved my kids. I will tell my kids I love them. I'm the huggingest person around, and I won't stop that no matter what they say. And the love they give back is phenomenal. It's whatever you give out, it comes back tenfold from the kids. And because they just have a great appreciation. And I love it when you run into a kid that you haven't seen, and they tell you a story that you might not even remember, but they remember. And it's just been, my time here at Harper Woods has been so amazing. I remember thinking every year, we'll only be here one more year, right? I'm leaving. And then after a while, I thought, I'm never leaving. I'm staying, and who knows, I might be back. So thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.
Time out. Okay, back in.
7.2 is United Way.
So, again, congratulations, and best of luck to the both of you as you move forward. And certainly, as we heard tonight, you have left a tremendous professional and personal legacy here at Harper Woods Schools. Thank you so much. Again, congratulations.
Thank you. I'll give everybody a minute to kind of. Okay, so 7.2, United Way for Southeastern Michigan.
I apologize, that's an error on the agenda. That's a recognition that's planned for next month.
Okay, no problem.
My apologies.
So 8.0, public participation in regard to action items? I'm hearing none. So our action items, 9.0, 9.1, consideration of expansion of music curriculum and courses. Mr. Beatawolf?
Actually, we're going to ask Mr. Rabideau to kind of highlight this proposal that we're bringing forward for the board's consideration. As the action item indicates, we're asking the board's support for a significant expansion of our music curriculum in the district in grades K through 12. Mr. Rabideau.
All right, well, that's a pretty tough act to follow, so I'm glad to be here for this exciting opportunity to share with you. So this is really quite exciting. As you heard Ms. Foster refer to me coming over and playing bass for the kids at Beacon. Music is a part of my past. In a former life, I was a professional musician, so this is wonderful. You know, the research is pretty clear. The benefits of music education are a significant and wide range. You know, you have the brain development, social, emotional, the physical development, that all gets in there. Also, you have the connection benefit of giving the kids another way to connect to their school day other than just being a part of the 8 to 3 academic push. And then when you think about the talents that have been demonstrated in this district, most recently at the African American History event in February, where some of our vocalists got up and sang, just tremendous. And I thought, we don't have any opportunities for them in our district. So this is a great opportunity here. What we're talking about is, again, this board's commitment to investing in the students of this district through adding additional programming. And we're looking at, you know, expanding our music offerings, but also expanding our staffing to go along with it. So what we discussed in the workshop was, you know, basically the concept of creating a general music program in grades K through 6, where the students would be introduced into the world of music through theory, history, appreciation, having some experiences with simple instruments, and of course singing in chorus opportunities. And then in the 4th and up, we kind of broaden their possibilities, where they could start to choose vocal path or instrumental path, where our band program would begin as it does currently. It would be starting in the 5th grade and going up through the 12th grade. And in 4th grade, that general music program would give them the opportunity to start working with recorders, get that interest. Maybe they want to go the band route. They would also have the background with the vocal component, where they could choose to pursue vocal programming up through the middle school and the high school. So we'd begin doing a general music program K through 6, and then we'd start to divide into a band track essentially and a vocal track starting in the middle school. The great thing about the way we're looking at structuring this is for any student that comes into the district in those later years and hasn't had experience with music, we should be able to work the program so we'd be able to do an introduction to either music or, you know, choral, or introduction to band, so that if they do have a talent and interest, you know, right now they don't have an opportunity to join the band without prior experience. We could do an introduction, they could get that experience and join both of those programs. So the structure really is, we have our current full-time music instructor in the district. We would be creating a full-time position down at the elementaries, K-6, for the general program, and then a full-time band instructor teaching from 5th grade all the way up through 12th grade, and then an additional half-time vocal coach program. And they would be doing vocal, choral, music theory, music appreciation for the middle school through high school grouping there. So that would represent, you know, a music department essentially going from 1 member to 2.5 members, which, if I've checked my math correctly, is I think 160% increase in the amount of staffing. Does that work about?
I'll take your word for that, sir.
Okay, I got that number from a wise mathematician, a former math teacher, but I may not be recalling it correctly. The point being, a significant investment in additional and enhancing
question.
programming for our students, and that's what we discussed, and that's what's on the table for you to discuss at this point.
Does anybody have any questions?
Just clarify, I know that we started our drum line a few years back, and some of these monies will be focusing on that as well?
At the workshop, we did discuss, the need for additional instruments in starting up a lot of these programs. So we haven't had specific conversations tied to the drum line in particular, but obviously, we're now creating a music department where there'd be more minds thinking of how all of these programs can intertwine and benefit from each other. So we definitely want to keep going with the drum line, and I'm sure if, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but if there's materials that are needed, we would look into that.
I certainly feel likewise. I think that there'll be just opportunities for synergy, if you will, among those different facets and components of this enhanced K through 12 district curriculum and programming. And so, like you, I think that we're going to see some of the things that we already have be kind of recreated and re-energized, and just kind of really start to grow and flourish in the way that we've always envisioned that they would.
And just one additional clarification too, Ms. Cawley is teaching art and music at Beacon. We've had conversations with both Beacon and Tyrone principal to see how this structure would work, and it actually works out very nicely where she continues to teach the art and music that she already is, and then this additional program is, captures the classes at Beacon that don't get music right now. They would now be getting music in addition to full-time at Tyrone. So it would be, again, enhancing what Ms. Cawley already put into motion, which was tremendous this year.
So, I would also then just, remind the board that we're bringing this recommendation, or rather this request forward on this timeline really for two reasons. I take that back, for three reasons. One, so that, and perhaps most importantly, we can build our district schedule and market and advertise these new opportunities to our students over these last few weeks of the school year, so that they can select and identify their interest in the classes and be enrolled in the classes going to next year. As well, if you move forward with the approval tonight, that then clears the way for us to post the positions and to begin to seek high-quality candidates for the full-time position as well as the half-time position. And then third, that then positions Mr. Dennis in his role as the Chief Financial Officer to further embed these anticipated costs in the budget recommendations and projections that we've already had preliminary discussions about, but we'll be continuing to, to finalize over the coming weeks as well. And, in our conversations between Mr. Dennis and I, our big bucket math projection would be that this would be about $150,000 investment on behalf of the district, certainly over $100,000 in staffing costs. And then, as Mr. Rabideau indicated, there may be some instrumentation, some materials, some score sheets. Is that the correct terminology?
That is one. Yes.
One of the correct terminologies, and so forth, so that can be a well-planned, well-executed, and high-impact opportunity for our students, beginning with the first day of school next year. So we think it's an exciting opportunity for the district, and we seek your support.
So, Mr. Biederwolf, while other districts may be shutting down some of their art programs because they can't afford them, we here at Harper Woods are expanding our art programs.
I like your talk. I certainly do. Well said.
Thank you, Mr. Biederwolf. Thank you, Mr. Russell.
Does anybody have any more questions? So the recommended motion reads that the Board of Education approves the additional 1.5 level staffing needed for the proposed instrumental and vocal programs. The staffing would serve students in grades 4 through 6 at Tyrone, 7 through 8 at the middle school, and 9 through 12 at the high school, instrumentally and K-12 vocally.
Motion.
Support.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0.
I think that is absolutely fantastic. Thank you, everyone.
And now we are on to 9.2, the waiver of pay to participation fees.
Just some short comments, if I may. The concept of pay to participate fees has been fairly common in our state over the last, I might say, 8 years or so. I think it's difficult when the school district finds itself in that financial place. And in my opinion, 9 times out of 10, those decisions are made really because there is a financial need. I know some school districts that are requiring pay to participate fees that approach even $400 per student. And sometimes if it's $400 for the first sport, it's $200 for the second and $100 for a 3-season student athlete. And often there's extracurricular pay to participate fees as well. 4 or 5 years ago, Harper Woods Schools had a pay-to-participate fee. We were in difficult financial times. It provided us about $10,000 worth of revenue at that time. While it wasn't a great deal of money, it was a needed source of revenue. Over the last 2, 3, or 4 years, our financial circumstance has improved. And it is the position of Chief Financial Officer and myself, and the board has had discussion about this at a previous workshop meeting as well, that we do believe that we are in a financial position whereby Harper Woods Schools can have no pay to participate fees for the 2016-17 school year. That would include no pay to participate fees for all athletic participation as well as all extracurricular participation. And so by this recommendation, we are asking that the board direct that there be no pay to participate fees in Harper Woods Schools for the upcoming 16-17 school year.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm just going to ask again, Mr. Beaterwolf, while other districts are charging their students, as you noted, hundreds of dollars to participate in sports activity, we here in Harper Woods, 3rd or 4th year in a row now?
Yes.
And I believe in my experience, but perhaps you can speak to it as well, sometimes when kids don't have to pay for things, they tend to take advantage or not take that commitment so serious. I'm assuming that's not a problem here with our students.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we're seeing that. And in fact, Ms. Quaker, I think that you were on the board at the time when we once were requiring those fees. And in fact, I think one of the negative things that we saw in our data is that our participation rates actually declined. And I know that the board at that time, as I'm sure this board is, was very concerned about that. And so my answer to your question would be that I think our students are taking advantage of the opportunity that is available to them. And I know I'm very proud that we have, pending your approval here, no fees in Harper Woods Schools.
Thank you, Mr. Beaterwolf. Anything else?
Okay, so the recommended motion reads that the Board of Education approves the suspension of pay to participate fees for the 2016-2017 school year.
Motion? Support.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0. 9.3, promotion. Francis Brooks, IT Director.
Okay, Mr. Dennis?
Oh, you're giving this to me. I wasn't prepared. I thought I was sitting out tonight.
If you'd like me to, I certainly could, sir. What would your pleasure be?
No, you go ahead, because I'm going to talk a lot in June. So you talk a lot.
Okay.
I'll be missing that meeting.
So this recommendation is a personnel recommendation. The board would be aware that Francis Brooks, was hired into the district as our technology specialist, I believe it was about 3 years ago. And if you kind of walk back over that calendar of time, if you will, and you think about the implementation of our one-to-one technology, all of the multifaceted investments in technology that have occurred across the district during that period of time, certainly the responsibilities and the complexity of that position have continued to increase. I would characterize, and I'm sure that Mr. Dennis would as well, Mr. Brooks as being a self-starter. He seems to always be looking forward, understanding that technological needs do evolve and change very rapidly, and working to position the district to not be responding to those changes, but to be part of and at the forefront of those ongoing changes. He works extensively with our E-Rate consultants. E-Rate is a federal program that is designed to bring technology into schools and to children at a reduced rate that is sponsored in part by federal funds. And And I know that Jim and I both feel that he's done a really significant job in that regard. And the concept of cyber attacks and interruptions of services has gotten more and more complex, and he has proven himself to be very adept in that area as well. And so for those reasons, and in fact several others, we bring forward this recommendation for the promotion of Francis Brooks to the position of IT Director for Harper Woods Schools.
Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Biederwolf, how many IT personnel does that leave in the district?
So it kind of depends upon how you categorize the various roles, if you will. Mr. Brooks works almost exclusively in that domain of making sure that the equipment works well. And he is a fairly, generally speaking, solely responsible for that facet of our IT services. And then we have 2 full-time staff members who then work directly with, now that the system and the network is working well, then let's make sure that we are utilizing the capabilities of our system to their maximum effect in terms of how it is that our technology is implemented and utilized in the classroom. And we have 2 full-time staff persons working in that capacity.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so the recommended motion reads that the Board of Education promotes Francis Brooks to the position of IT Director for the Harper Woods School District.
Motion. Support.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0.
Thanks. As Mr. Biederwolf said, it's well deserved. You guys.
He is a real asset.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So we're moving on to 9.4, Facility Rental Rates Revision. Mr. Biederwolf?
Thank you, Madam President. And so you see the background information for this particular item begins on page 62, and I think probably the most important information is contained on page 63. What I want to remind the board as well as our listening audience is that as the board considers this recommendation, which is a recommendation to increase the rental fees, if you will, for facilities across the district, I want to remind the board and again our listening community that this has nothing to do with Beacon Elementary holding a school-related function at Beacon. So district functions, that's not what we're talking about here. Certainly, there's no charge for those types of things. In your policies as well, the Board of Education has specific language relative to nonprofit entities. Many nonprofit entities, the United Way being an example of that, are, provide great opportunities for students. And so we work in partnership with those entities and we support those entities and we have the right to either not have a fee associated with that or for that fee to be very nominal. And again, this action here is not in any way, shape, or form intended to impact those relationships, if you will. Fundamentally, what this recommendation is about is that third category, an entity perhaps that is not directly connected to Harper Woods Schools, doesn't have necessarily a strong relationship to the Harper Woods community, but perhaps just simply wants to, enter into a rental agreement and utilize some of the facilities that are available. We do that on an occasional basis. And, it's nice to have other people come into our schools. They see our facilities. Maybe there's a little bit of marketing value for that. But at the same time, obviously, this facility represents a significant investment on the part of the community. And really, this recommendation is to make sure that the district is getting an appropriate level of recompensation. How do you say that, Mr. Dennis? There's a word there.
Just go with compensation.
There's a word there. We'll use that one. There's a word there. Anyway, to me, it's about a fair exchange. We're providing a quality venue for these entities, and we do believe that we should get a reasonable rate of return. We believe that to be in the district's best interest, and we believe that to be part of your responsibilities in terms of the stewards of the district's facilities and so forth. And so these policies have not been revised in my 7-year tenure as superintendent. This campus was built and occupied 1 year before I joined the district. I assume that those rates were revised when this new facility was built, but certainly 7 years later, we do believe that it's appropriate that those rates be revised as per the schedule that you see on page 63.
Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. So the recommended motion reads that the Board of Education approves the revised facility rentals rate for the facilities of the Harper Woods School District.
Motion.
Support.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes 5-0. Item 9.5 is the preliminary 2016-17 budget resolution.
So this is an annual item that comes before the Board of Education. It's actually something that's required in the law. Just as you have to annually adopt a balanced budget, the Wayne Risa, the intermediate school district, has that same requirement. And the way that that process is defined in the law is that each local school district then must take formal action to either approve or to deny the proposed annual Wayne Wayne County Regional Educational Services Agency, RESA's budget, in this case for the 16-17 school year. And then once all of that comes in, they know based upon the aggregate whether or not they do or do not have an approved budget. I certainly know that Mr. Dennis and I, the instructional division, strongly believe that Wayne Risa are strong partners and strong supporters of Harper Woods Schools. And so, speaking on behalf of the administrative team, certainly it would be our recommendation that the board approve this 16-17 Wayne Risa budget.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or concerns? Okay, I'm hearing none. This requires a roll call vote.
Ms. Fenderson?
Yes.
Ms. Mahone?
Yes.
Ms. Dungy?
Yes.
Ms. Quaker, I vote yes. Ms. Morrison?
I vote yes. So the motion passes 5-0.
We will get Risa those documents.
Resolution. Okay. And item 9.6 is the first reading and adoption of bylaws and policies.
So we've broken this into two separate action items this particular time. As the board is aware, we get biannual recommendations from our service provider, our consultant in this regard, Neola. And so the first of those is the second of those biannual recommendations for this particular school year. And you can see that there are a number of policies that have been reviewed by the policy committee, and then we're bringing forward those recommendations from the committee for the consideration of the board as a whole tonight.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about any of those policies? I'm hearing none, so the recommended motion reads that the Board of Education approves the first reading and adoption of bylaws, policies in the 1200, 1400, 2600, 3100, 3200, 6100, 7200, and 8100 series.
Motion.
Support.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0. And then moving on to 9.7, those are the Edgar Law bylaws and policies that Mr. Beater Wolf just spoke about. Does anyone have any questions regarding those? No? The recommended motion reads that the Board of Education approves the first reading and adoption of the Education Department General Administrative Regulations, Edgar bylaws and policies. Bylaws 140, policies in the 1100, 3100, 4100, 6100, 6300, 6500, 7300, 7400, and 8500 series.
I apologize. I do have a quick question.
Okay.
We're not addressing the bathroom issue in these yet, are we?
No, we are not
Okay.
addressing
I was just
that
checking.
issue at this
I
time.
figured it was a rush, but it's a topic.
I'm
so I
sure
just
in the
wanted-
fall that they will have a formal recommendation, but
Okay.
to this point, no.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
No, that's okay. So all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes 5-0. And board items, do we have any subcommittee reports? I don't believe that we do. Okay, so 11.0 is report of the superintendent.
I would really like to again just express my congratulations to Karen Stiver and to Kathy Foster for their tremendous service to the students of Harper Woods Schools and the Harper Woods community. I just, being a teacher myself, I so respect the work that they have done and the legacy that they leave here in Harper Woods Schools. And so I would just kind of echo some of their remarks. We heard them talk about families. We heard them talk most importantly about students. We heard them talk about how important they believe that bringing staff, students, and families together enabled them to have the types of careers that it is that we celebrated tonight. And we're only as strong as those three legs. If any of those three legs aren't as strong as they need to be, then the organization, the community as a whole aren't going to be as well. And so we do believe that we've got a good foundation, and certainly those two professionals spoke to that. But at the same time, we've still got work to do professionally and with our student population and with our parent population as well. So we're in a good place. But we have to continue to be hungry to transition from good to great, because really greatness is where it is that we want to be and what it is that our students need to be surrounded by. And so I do. I like where we are. I like our energy. But we have to understand these last few weeks of school are important. Our curriculum work over the summer is important. And the start that we get off to school next year, as well as how it is that we end this school year, are all very important as well. I look forward to all of those opportunities.
Thank you. Item 12.0, public participation. I'm hearing none. 13.0, matters of interest to board members.
I didn't want to comment at the time because I was very emotional, but I guess I should have because it's irrelevant now. Ms. Foster has taught probably 4 or 5 of my family members, including my daughter and my nieces and nephews. And for her to say she lives in the area, she sure does, because I would see her at Little League baseball games over the summer. So yeah, that touches my heart. You have to stop there. And for Ms. Stiver to comment as well about her colleague, and the teachers that come here and spend time with our kids, when Ms. Stiver is just as guilty of living in this building. Along with Ms. Collier and Mr. Miller and Mr. Rosser and all the faces that I see. So when it does come to them saying family, it is a family-like atmosphere here in the buildings, and that is because of our teachers and administrators, and we as parents appreciate it. So I wanted to say that for sure.
Nice.
Very good.
Does anybody else have anything? No. Okay. So item 14.0, we are adjourning at 8:02.